and Saxonists! My name is Hannah Saxon and welcome back to the channel. Today, we get to the long-awaited, episode 3 of... Azure and I admit it, we are weeaboos. We love anime and all things Japanese, and we are not afraid to show it. I am wearing my Dragon Ball G t-shirt, but today I am talking about a different anime, and that anime is... Hetalia Axis Powers! A satirical anime portraying the countries of the world as regular people, but you already knew that... Hetalia had a movie. That video I took down where I looked like a Karen in training and explained my troubled history with this anime, but I will explain that in a different video. Today, Azure and I will explain why we love this soundtrack from an objective standpoint. I'm not going to have any bias. This is going to be semi-objective from a fan's perspective. Hopefully. So without further ado, let's hope this doesn't get blocked by Studio Dean and head into the first song. Oh my god, my dad is going to kill me. So, all the track names on this CD are unfortunately in Japanese, so I'm just gonna have to make up my own song title monikers. The first track is given the nickname, by me, Perfect Intro. And that is because this track is the perfect introduction of the album and the movie it comes from. Now, since most of the album is completely an instrumental score, this review will go along the lines of my Star Trek album review, and I will be explaining the production mostly. Sure, there are a few vocal songs on here, but it's a soundtrack album, so most of the tracks are purely instrumental. So, the song starts off with dramatic piano, drums, and strings before delving into some timpani flourishes that give off the feeling of running for your life. Coincidentally, that is what the first scene delivers. You know, after Iceland is introduced. After some fast flute scales and some trumpet notes, there's a Richardando near the end, and this makes me ask one question. Why? Why is this a good way to start the soundtrack? Why is this such a great introduction? Azure gives Perfect Intro a 3.5 out of 5. Oh boy, we are off to a great start. Track 2. The intro theme song. I'm not very surprised that it's track 2 and not track 1. There's not much I can say about this song, or it's more like a 25-second jingle. It's short, but it's more bombastic than the version used in the show, and it fits with the cinematic tone. Azure gives it a 3 out of 5. Track 3. Invasion! You have to say it like that. The exclamation mark is mandatory. As you heard, there's a cool sitar playing constantly in the foreground, and then later in the track it moves to the background to signify that the aliens are invading, hence the moniker I gave to the song. The sitar is accented on every offbeat, adding syncopation, and then the foreground instrument changes to a very urgent string line to show that there are aliens and the countries are trying to defeat them in one go. They're terrorizing the world and making everything boringly white to fit the look of their home planet. Then there's a backing percussion line after the sitar part ends with claps and bongo drums. Then the song slows down and the aliens have fully taken over. For now. Azure gives Invasion a 3.5 out of 5. Track 4, After the Fact. The aliens have conquered the Earth, and as I said, everything has been turned white. The post-apocalyptic vibe really cements that sentence, with the calm flutes giving off a sense of dread that the world may be coming to an end. Also, it's pretty short, so there's not much to say about it. 3 out of 5. Track 5, Neutrality. Switzerland and Liechtenstein are behind a permanent neutrality barrier border because that's how it works. It's calm and ambient, and the MIDI choir scaling up fits with Liechtenstein's calm and innocent character. She sits with her brother having a picnic while the aliens are trying to get into the border, but they can't. It's useless. Again, that's not how neutrality works, but I can suspend my disbelief. It's fiction based on nonfiction. Again, this track is pretty short, but it's also pretty good. I could genuinely see myself relaxing or napping or sleeping with this on in the background. 4 out of 5. Track 5. Ideas, ideas, ideas. Well, that was a welcome change of pace from the last track. This is a track that runs too short, too. I know I've said that a lot, and I will say it for some future tracks, but track 5 has just so much potential. It could have gone along the lines of the show's World Conference theme, but it has a bombastically jarring recurring motif on different instruments and a slowdown at the end. It shows the country's ideas are just totally bad ideas, but it's kind of a skip for me. It's the worst song so far on this score. 2 out of 5. Track 7. Tony's introduction. Oh boy. Just a little intro to America's alien friend, both musically and scenically. It's got all the things an anime score song detailing aliens should have. Wacky synthesizers, dancey techno production, a funky bass, record scratches? Yeah, it might sound all wacky and weird, but I definitely like it better than the last track. 3.5 out of 5. Track 8. World Overview. Just a short interlude for the cheesy female narrator to break into an expository bit about the aliens invading. The production is okay, but here's a tiny nitpick. Is it me, or does the little intro in this song sound like the intro to They Might Be Giants' electric car? Yes, right down to the backwards played instrument and the fading. Azure gives it a 3 out of 5. Track 9. Converge! This part is when the G8, meaning the Axis and Allies united, finally they unite to defeat the aliens as they attempt to board the spaceship. This track is urgently blasting as the scene plays out. Gives off the feeling of a charge, like battle cry. We hear the first instance of an oboe, and it's used pretty well. The strings and flutes sound very urgent, but it's nothing special for this album so far. Azure gives Converge a 3 out of 5. Track 10. Italy's Plan. Finally! Italy has a plan to get inside the ship. Disguises! This song has kind of a sneaky, stealthy feel to it, and it fits Italy's character so much. Despite the sneaky and cinematic sound, it's nothing special either, though. It's not bad, just a little forgettable. 2.5 out of 5. Track 11. Caught in the Act. The winds do a very fast 4-note motif, and it sounds a bit more like a war charge than track 9. I'd say they're on the same level. The most fascinating part of this song to my band geek ears, though, is that it's in 6/8 time, which makes the drums all syncopated. This one is also pretty mediocre to me. 3 out of 5. Track 12. Period chopsticks. Taken out of context, this line sounds weird. But if you're a Hetalia fan, you already know what the context is.
You got period chopsticks.
Moving on to the song itself, the main motif is played on a marimba, and the cello backing it up is pretty monotonous, but then the harpsichord starts playing the motif and it gets better. Again, there's not much I can say here other than what I already mentioned, so after a couple forgettable songs, I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. Undeserved, you say? Screw that noise! Let's go on to the Caught in the Actor Prize, aka track 13. From what you heard, this is kind of a remake of track 11. Other than that, it's more of a chasing than an infiltrating theme. The motifs are pretty dissonant, and it's kind of a clusterfuck in the time signature department. One ominous choir part later when we end on a musical cliffhanger. I'd say I like it less than track 11. 2.5 out of 5 from Azure. Track 14. Hospitality? Japan is suggesting how to welcome the aliens onto our planet, and it shows that it's delivered by him in this track. This has an Asian restaurant feel to it, and spoiler alert, so does the next track. Then there's a harp glitch to close this incredibly short track off, like a 30-second song, and that's it with the segment. I know these segments are getting shorter and shorter, but that's because it's an anime score album, and some of the tracks are more jingles than full score songs. Azure gives it a 3 out of 5. Track 15, 5-second Chinatown. This is the track that sounds straight out of a Chinese restaurant, like I mentioned in the last song. A gong hit kicks the song off and it gives out a calm vibe, just what I expected from a track focused on China and its culture. The flute really cements it. And then we get that breakdown you heard earlier, which sounds like a Lunar New Year celebration. And coincidentally, I scripted this part of the video the week of Lunar New Year. Unfortunately, if you haven't seen this movie, here's a little context. After this song, the scene says that the aliens don't know what to say or do, so now we move on. 3.5 out of 5. Track 16, High Class. France takes his hospitality to a new, refined level with this song in the background. The song is elegant with its piano and high piccolo that fits its romantic character. I'm kind of understating France here, but this movie will lead you to believe that he's kinder than you would expect. Azure gives High Class a 4 out of 5. Track 17, Baltic Lake. First of all, how did the Baltics not get terrorized and converted by the aliens? And second, this is just a childish remake of the main theme from Swan Lake. Sure, the melody is played on a clarinet and it's represented well, but again, it's so childlike and also too damn short. Again, 2.5 out of 5. A for effort. Track 18, Forced Alcohol. The worst out of the hospitality suite. Again, it might just be me, but I don't really like the abrasiveness of this song. The organic strings clash with the synthesized harpsichord, and let's not forget, it's about Germany forcefully and reluctantly serving the aliens beer. And I don't even like beer. Also, say it with me now, this song is also too short. Forget what I said about track 6, this is the worst song so far. Azure gives it a 2 out of 5. And now we get to a good song in the hospitality suite. Track 19, Blackjack and Hookers, also known as I Know How to Give a Good Time.
I know how to give a good time? Really? What am I, a hooker?
America now steps in to help with, what else? Gambling! Oh, and hot girls as the casino attendants. I don't even like gambling my money away, but this song doesn't really make me want to, but it's pretty good. The ragtime-esque piano meshes well with the fast saxophone solo parts, and it sounds like Vegas, which I assume is the vibe the composers were going for. The bass is pretty funky too. Azure gives it a 4 out of 5. Finally, we get to the first immaculate song on this album. Track 20, Bond Dance. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen the movie, this is the instrumental version of the movie's credits theme. But that doesn't mean the song is bad. It's awesome, with or without the vocals, but I'll get to the vocal version later. The taiko drums and shamisen kick off the Japanese Bond dance feel to the scene and the song itself. The flute melody mixes well with the shamisen in the chorus, and it actually makes me want to learn Bond dancing. It has the feel of a group of parade performers, and it's just beautiful. Japan, you rock this one out. 4.5 out of 5 from Azure. Track 21, Scones! This track is also pretty short, but I have a few things to say about it. First of all, in this scene, Britain gives the aliens his homemade, horribly cooked scones that taste like petrified couch stuffing, as America put it in this series. Second, the chasing harpsichord is back. And third, there's a literal free-fall plunge at the end. Awesome, but the next track leads me to believe it wasn't so awesome.
Holy shit, what have we done? Oh my fucking god, they're shooting green things at us, oh my god.
3 out of 5. Track 22, Stranded. Accurate nickname! The G8 are stranded on Desert Island. There's nothing for Germany to do there. All hope seems lost as he roves through the jungle. The piano sounds lonely, which is accurate because the scene focuses on Germany's sort of soliloquy. Right before he finds other forms of life, his motif from the show plays, as you heard earlier, and he catches a glimpse of Hetalia himself. Azure gives Stranded a 4 out of 5.
I'm going to eat that cat. 5 cats for 5 Deutschmarks at Arby's.
I've been using a lot of blooper clips before my own bloopers. Sad, I know. Track 23, Sealand's Arrival. Oh boy. Okay, forget what I said about track 18. This is the worst song on the album so far. There's not much I can say about this song either. Has a wimpy build-up. It is also a jingle-type music track. Not really a song, but I have to include it here. It is on the album, after all. 2 out of 5. Poor effort. Track 24. Where'd you get that cat?
Fucking cat.
As I said before, Germany finds a bit of human, and cat, life on the deserted island the G8 landed on, and that's why the soundtrack here gives a hopeful yet curious vibe. It sounds very optimistic, like the G8 have evaded the aliens and don't have to deal with the problems present in the next track, but unfortunately they do. 4 out of 5. Just so you know, there are a lot of 4s out of 5s coming up, and spoilers, they last until track 28, so I'll spare you the rating clips because you know what ratings they are. I just said it. On to track 25, Monumental Fight. And I call it that because of the turned alabaster white monuments that the aliens brought in with them in the background. This song is excellent for a climactic scene. It starts off with some intense string syncopations and a vibraphone solo. Then, silence for 4 seconds, and BAM! The Arabian-style digressions that you heard earlier. More syncopation and clanging finger cymbals, kind of giving me flashbacks, but let's not talk about that. And then later, we're to fight an alien threatening the Earth. We are ready. Track 26, Germany's Downfall. And no, it has nothing to do with the movie Downfall. That piano really mixes well with the fast, urgent, rapid feel and is a good way to kick off the track. Now, most of the G8 are defeated in this scene. Germany is the last one standing. Oh, and Italy, but he'll come in later. The key shifts into a minor dissonance and sounds insanely climactic, especially for the scene. Those minor shifts are super terrifying. I just have to point that out. After that ending, we get to track 27, the first vocal track, but certainly not the last. Heaven and Hell Rock Remix. I'm not surprised that I bought this album in Japanese, so I wasn't very shocked when I heard Rome's excruciatingly painful singing voice. But at the beginning, he actually sounds pretty okay. What with his falsetto and that backing guitar. I already knew the lyrics from the Japanese version, and they're pretty stereotypical, but then again, that's what Hetalia is about. And then we get some mic feeding back, and after that... Shred away, Rome!
Thank you!
You're welcome. Track 28, Smile. The only track with an English marked title on the liner notes. True to the title, it has a very optimistic tone that fits with Italy's personality. Coincidentally, Italy is the focus of the scene, bringing the G8 back to their normal, non-alien selves by drawing on their faces with a marker. Weird, I know. A clarinet gets some representation. Great! And it kind of sounds like the clarinets from Peter and the Wolf. Cat-like, sneaky, and semi-optimistic are the words that I would use to describe that clarinet. It ends on a pretty high note, too. And like I said, tracks 24 through 28 get a 4 out of 5 from Az. Track 29, Princess. We finally meet the leader of the aliens, who is much kinder than the audience imagines. I assume. This track is very peaceful and makes the listener give off a sigh of relief. Flutes are prominent in the mix here, but the harps are a mention too. They are very relaxing. And this marks the end of the movie. The invasion is over and the aliens are retreating with Italy's marker, turning the world back to normal along the way. Everything is fine. And Azure gives this song a 5 out of 5. After our first full rating on the album, we finally hear the all-new to the series credits theme, baby! This is just track 20, but better and with vocals. It has vocals from all of the G8, and the lyrics give off a feeling of diversity and unity. We should all come together, and the melody you just heard in the chorus is too catchy to not ignore. There's also a dance that goes along with it, but unfortunately, I don't know it. I'll have to learn it someday. And that's one out of the 2 cons in this song. The second one is that they didn't use the full version. But other than that, gets a 5 out of 5 from Azure and I. And now we get to the 2 bonus tracks. First off, track 31, Mein Gott. I've heard someone describe the binaural intro as ear torture, so I won't play it for you. And the synthesizers give off a kind of ominous vibe like Attack on Titan. But what comes after that is gold medal worthy. Yes! Shred away, Prussia! Yes, Prussia is the focus of the song. He sings, he shreds, he yells, he does it all. The mix of harpsichord and strings with the guitar and the drums is the main element that makes a song for me, along with all that. Oh, and there's the constant injection of... Can't play much of it because it'll get blocked. Other than that massive ego trip, the song still gets a 5 out of 5 from me and Az. Last track, track 32, a piano rendition of Wa Wa World Ondo. This is just track 30, but calmer and more emotional. It's played entirely on piano, and it's the perfect way to end the album and score with a perfect mix of low and high notes and some track 16-esque elegance. On first listen, It actually made me tear up a bit, and that was after I watched the full movie. As far as I know, this track isn't even in the movie. Nevertheless, Azure still gives the last track of Hetalia Painted White Sound World a 5 out of 5. Thank you. Verdict time! This album, despite the nostalgic bias, is pretty good for fans of the anime and anime scores in general. I definitely recommend it, especially to Hetalia newcomers who specifically just finished Season 2. The best tracks are Neutrality, Period Chopsticks, and of course, the last 4 songs. The bad tracks are Forced Alcohol and Sealand's Arrival. I could have put track 6 on the bad songs part, but honestly, track 23 is more of a skip. I'd put the entire album in my good tier, and that's with absolutely no bias. Thanks so much for watching this long-awaited album review by some, and until next time, like and subscribe, hit the bell to stay updated, check out Nea Edom, and remember, when opportunity comes knocking 4 times, you know what to do. Take care. Bye. Azure and I... Oh, she's backwards. This song... They last until track 8. 8? Oh my god, I already talked about track 8. This is the perfect way to end the album in score, with a perfect mix of...